On the track, first final of the day will be the 10,000 meters women's race walk. Ma Li of China is the world leader, but the best ranked athlete here is Nanako Fuji of Japan. It's a big field, 34 of them.
See them running out, and then they're going straight into walking once they come through the tunnel of excited kids that have been here all week cheering on the athletes as they come out. What a great way for these race walkers to enter the stadium this morning.
It's a massive collection of national record holders, national champions, area record holders, and would-be world champions. The final of the women's 10,000 meters race walk on this Saturday morning in Tampere. Big field. Glenda Morhon of Ecuador, 2017 World Under-18 champion, among those on that list. Tekdal of Turkey, the Balkan Junior champion in 2018. And Fuji, third at the World Racewalking Team Championships in Taishan, where I was in early May, as the world's best racewalkers across multiple disciplines gathered in China for a great 2 days of competition.
Two Irish athletes entered in the field. Of course, big tradition in Ireland in race walk. They'll be looking to continue that on and have a really good showing here this morning.
We'll take you through some of the rules for people who are unfamiliar with race walking and some of the technical aspects of this event as it progresses. What can happen is you'll see cautions. They'll bring you up to date on red cards. Also the power of the judges. Let's just have a look at some of the names that we'll be looking out for in this next 45 minutes or so. Bekbe's there.
So let's introduce some of the athletes for you in position 34 for Japan.
There's Nanako Fuji arriving here as the fastest in the field. In June, she walked 45 minutes and 24 seconds over this 10,000 meter course or distance. The Australians have a rich tradition of race walking, and Katie Hayward is here. She's the Australian junior champion. She's also a senior champion. Shi Yujie of China. Strong entrance. So strong that some of their athletes are not here. We have so many to choose from, as we see Kivimaki, the Finn. Here's Glenda Morhon, second at the World Racewalking Team Championships earlier this year. And De Obata of Puerto Rico hasn't gone inside the 46-minute mark yet this year.
On your mark!
So they're called to the line. And away they go. There are 34 in total 25 laps of this Tampere stadium they'll take on. The innovation in recent times in race walking has come with the addition of a pit lane. And this is a discipline within athletics which is judged purely by the naked eye. And as they go round the track and now come together, with Beckber's one of the early leaders, we'll see a group of judges whose job it is to monitor the techniques of the walkers and to ensure that they are sticking to the regulations. You can see one there in a white hat and white t-shirt watching on that bend in the early stages here. There are 5 judges in all, and they are spread out around this track. There's also, in addition to those 5, a chief judge, Germany's Rolf Müller, and it's his job to ultimately rule on the decisions of the judges who are around the track. Müller himself was at the European Under-18 Championships officiating last week. Just a few words now also on what you're looking for in technique. And a race walker must always have the legs straightened when it first makes contact with the ground until it passes the vertical upright position under the body. So effectively the straight leg is integral to a race walk. Now if an athlete is not adhering to the regulations of race walk, there are different ways in which they can be warned or penalised. We'll talk a little bit more about that.
It is an event where it's extremely technical. You know, those judges that you see interspersed around the track, they're just using their eyes essentially to judge the technique of this big group of athletes.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Devil. This is something that is judged purely by the naked eye.
An interesting point on that view from the judges. The IAAF have been investing heavily in technology to assist the judging. So what they're looking at, it's a simple insole to the athlete's shoes, which is linked to the watch they wear and a central system. They're hoping to introduce it in the next 2 years, which a lot of people feel is needed in this event. It would be a huge change to the event. It would be quite a lot of innovation in the event. So interesting times ahead in race walk as a global sporting event.
They've gone through 1,000 meters with Resholda Orbeta of Puerto Rico leading. She took them through in 4 minutes 25.95. There's the pit lane to the left-hand side. We'll talk about that in a moment. And the judges, again, you can see one of them here, just keeping a close eye on the front straight of the track. If they believe that a walker is in danger of breaking the rules, or their technique is suspect, then they will issue a yellow paddle. Now that is purely a warning, it carries no penalty. And as they go through 1,200 meters, 22 laps to go, and the paddles have a little symbol on them. They can either be indicating that they believe that they're in danger of losing contact with the ground, or that the knee could be close to being bent. Now if they actually see an infringement, it is a red card.
Orbete has really gone out hard in this women's race walk this morning, putting her mark on the field early, not willing to hang around in the pack.
So picking up on where we are with cards, then a red card can be issued by a judge if they feel that there has been an infringement of the rules. If you accrue 3 red cards, then as we see a judge about on the left of the picture, about to produce a yellow paddle. Well, it's just moved away from the picture for the moment, but there he is on the left. It looked like, I thought he was poised to bring his paddle out there, but he's actually just watching carefully. But if you accrue 3 red cards in a race, then you go into the pit lane, and you have to spend a minute in there. It's a time penalty, effectively. And of course, that can have a huge impact on an athlete's ability to succeed in a race. So 3 red cards in that. If you come out and then get a 4th red card, you are disqualified outright.
Yeah, that's a very interesting change that has come in the event in recent years. The pit lane was introduced for the Youth Olympics 4 years ago to reduce the number of disqualifications. It was originally planned for the under-20 races, but it's only introduced for its first senior international competition this year at the World Team Champs in China, which of course, Tony, you were present at, so you saw a bit of history in this event when it was in the senior championships this year.
Yes, that's right. And in that championships, we had walks up to 50 kilometers and the time penalties increase. And the pit lane was something that you saw used quite a lot, and it can be curtains for your chances, really, if you go into that pit lane. As we look at Rachel de Orbeta of Puerto Rico. Her best mark, actually, this year, 47 minutes and 57 seconds for the race walk. That's at an indoor event. But she's gone out and got herself a good 70-meter lead or so at the moment. Among the chasing pack, both the Chinese walkers and the dangerous Ecuadorian Morjon. There is a yellow paddle, and was that possibly for Morjon or maybe Andia behind? So just a warning there as they go through 2,000 meters.
The yellow paddle is almost like the judges saying, careful, careful,
Absolutely.
Check your technique. We need you to be careful. I'm not happy with what I'm seeing, and I need you to correct.
So a 5th of the way through the walk. (2,000 meters), 4:28.24 from de Orbeta to averaging 4:27 so far. The lead is 11 seconds.
See the athletes being handed water and sponges. It is really hot down there on the track today. We've kind of had some extreme weather from last night and the lashing rain for that extremely exciting women's 800-meter final in the heptathlon to this morning, and searing heat for these race walkers. You see a lot of them are wearing caps to protect themselves.
Well, you just don't realize how physically demanding this challenge is, and you will see as this race progresses what it can take out of these athletes. They are incredible performers. Many would say this is an extreme sport.
Absolutely.
In the race walk, it's still the Puerto Rican leader, and 1 red card has been issued so far, and that is for Ima Hankundova of Slovakia, and that is for a bent knee. That's the only sanction so far. And also now a red card has come through for the Peruvian Mary Luz Andia, and that is for a loss of contact. It's a loss of contact penalty. So 1 red card for them. So that means that they have just to make sure they keep their technique in check.
Absolutely. It's an event where you have to show an incredible amount of discipline, because of course there's that temptation. You just want to go faster and the technique then gets sloppy, but it is about being disciplined throughout the race. There are judges all over the course trying to ensure that that discipline is happening. The athletes need to be careful.
The gap is now considerably smaller. I have seen race walks at these World Championships in the past where a leader has gone out and led as early as there's a warning for the leader, de Orbeta. But I have seen someone go out and take the lead after 100 meters and never give it up. But equally, you will see athletes really push it out there early on and then be totally consumed by the field in the later stages. So there is not always any right or wrong way tactically to go about this. It's about what suits the walker in question.
Well, all these walkers would be acutely aware of their capabilities. We just see the
Oh,
red
Morjon,
card.
a red card for the Ecuadorian Morjon. So that's interesting early on. Morjon is in 4th at the moment.
They'd be very aware of their abilities through this distance, what they can do their Ks in, what pace they're comfortable at, what pace perhaps they're not comfortable at, how they feel over the last few K. And that's their race strategy would have been decided between them and their coaches before they even started today. And that's a strategy they try to stick to a large degree, but also react to what's happening in the race.
We mentioned a red card for Morjon. She's the highest ranked athlete so far to be issued with a red card, and that was for a loss of contact. So there we are, confirmation of the red cards that have been issued so far for Ecuador, Peru, Slovakia. The leaders now in one group, and they're all the big names really that we expected to see. Beckmes, Morjon, the Australian is up there as well, Katie Hayward. She's an Australian junior champion, but she also, at the age of 17, became the youngest ever senior Australian champion when she won the national 10-kilometre championship. She's ranked 3rd in the world this year.
And Australia have a great tradition in race walking. Some really big stars have come out of there over recent years. I'll always remember the dramatic moment in Sydney 2000 when Jane Saville, one of the home heroes, got disqualified in the race walk coming into the stadium. It has all stayed with me, the devastation of it. It is really a cutthroat event in terms of the rules, and these judges are here to enforce them for the integrity of the event, but it is absolutely unforgiving.
Something similar happened in the Commonwealth Games this year as well.
Yeah, mainly what I've realized this week, sitting up here in our position in commentary, is there's a reason I'm not a judge or an official. I'd be far too soft, Tony. I wouldn't be disqualifying anybody. I'd be terrible at enforcing the rules. And I'm just far too soft.
So it is the leader, Diobeta, who went out early in front. She had an 11-second advantage at one point, and as you can see, that advantage has disappeared now, and Shi Yuqia of China leads the chasing pack. Also includes Mariam Beckmes, 5th in Taichung at the World Racewalking Team Championships. She's the European Under-20 champion, and she also took a silver medal last year in Nairobi. And a frequent winner this year as well. There, a look at the techniques. Contact all the time, straight legs. 4,000 meters complete. They did the last 1,000 in 4 minutes 36.71, so the pace has slowed a little. Big gaps now from the front of the group to the back. You can see from 1st to 14th there on our graphics, 30 seconds.
Yeah, it really is being strung out now. I'm just looking down towards the pit. Normally there is a board displaying the red cards. I wonder, is that out in front of the judges down there, just so the athletes know where they stand?
Yes, it's known as the DQ board.
It's not a board you ever want to be on, is it?
No.
I had a great chat this morning with Rolf Muller about this event, and I was asking him, you know, about the changes in the event and how he kind of feels about those. He's the chief judge here, and he told me he had a really interesting way of explaining it to me. He was saying, you know, for these young athletes, if you're an athlete and you're finishing up school on a Friday and you are saying to your friends, oh, what are you doing for the weekend? They're saying, oh, I'm going playing soccer, or I'm running, and you're saying, oh, I'm going to do a race walk event. And then if you come in on Monday morning to school and your friends say, oh, how did the race walk go? And you say, how did the soccer go? And you say, well, I got red carded. You're saying the perception of a red card outside of the race walk competition is so negative, when in fact, a red card essentially is you're just tried too hard. Most of these young athletes who get red carded, they've tried too hard. And he really felt that introducing the pit lane meant you essentially take out disqualifications. You're penalizing the athletes because they have to protect the integrity of the technique of the event. But actually, it's a much nicer way to do it. And I thought that was a really interesting way to explain it.
That's right, and it is a sport or a discipline where the perception of disqualification as well is very different. If you tell someone you were disqualified, then it doesn't necessarily carry the same connotations that it does as disqualification in other sports. Back in the walk, and all the big names are in this front group here, led by Rachel de Urbeta of Puerto Rico. Almost the halfway stage now. She had 11-second advantage over them at one point, but they're all back together. But the likes of Katie Hayward, Linda Morhon, Miriam Beckmes, all in there. Noela Vargas we haven't mentioned either yet, from Costa Rica, the national record holder there. She's in that group. Ji Yuqie of China with the white cap, the tall figure in the red of China. Katie Hayward, who's 45 minutes, 48 seconds, 45 early this year, was achieved in Sydney in March. That's the third best 10K this year. Halfway through now, 5,000 meters reached in 22:41. Katie Hayward, coached by Steve Langley. And she's had a great year, 6th overall in the Australian 10,000 meters after winning the senior title last year. She won the Adelaide Junior 10K, the Queensland 10K, and the Australian Junior 10K. So what a year for her. Tight bunch at the front. There are 10 of them in that group. So 11 laps to go. Look at the watch from the leader, the Puerto Rican. 25 minutes 30 on the clock.
As the race goes on, that technique becomes more and more important. As these athletes are trying to push it out and get faster, they have to be careful not to get sloppy with the technique. They must be very disciplined on it, always thinking about maintaining contact with the ground.
And we saw a yellow paddle there. Just that's only a warning. It carries no penalty.
It's just that little careful. I'm not 100% happy with what I see from the judge, and I am keeping an eye on it, and I need you to fix your technique a little bit.
A judge can issue as many as 2 yellow cards to an individual athlete. So in theory, you could get round a race walk competition and have 10 yellow paddles issued towards you, but it would actually not carry any penalty.
Yeah, there are 5 judges spread around this track for this event. I think if that's the territory you're in, you probably are a little bit on the edge. But it is an interesting element of this event, because the event is long enough to be able to do that, to be able to give them that warning. We see in other events, for example, the men's 800 yesterday, where the favourite got disqualified because he's stepped out of his lane, and it's just done over very quickly. There's no warning, there's no second chances. Whereas in race walk, such is the distance and such is the high technical level of this event that there is more warning for these young athletes.
Bernardo, Portugal, 2 red cards now, so the only athlete so far to have been issued with 2. Morhon, Monga, Anthea, Atundova are all there on 1. And we now finally have seen a decisive change, as Bekmez has taken them out and gone to the front of that group of 10, and the 10 are now spreading out. Morhon there just nudged sideways almost. Tekdal in there as well, then back to Hayward, but the early leader has dropped off the pace a little. So in the race walk, Bekmez, 5th in Taichung at the World Racewalking Team Championships earlier this year. She's made a decisive move. The field very spread, but there she is, white cap, left of the picture, just consuming a group of 4 and gliding past them almost as if they're not there. Amazing to see the pace that she's now maintaining. She's really moving.
Bekmez has a super smooth technique at pace. You can see it.
Here she comes. There's the pit lane to the left. There's the whiteboard, which is known as the DQ board in many ways, because that will inform athletes as to what situation they're in. Morhon is behind and is making a move. I think she's realised, right, I can't let Bekmez move quite that much away. So Morhon, the South American junior record holder, who was 2nd in Taichung at the World Racewalking Team Championships this year, is now just taking a look at Bekmez and thinking, right, with 8 laps to go, I'm not going to let you get too far away. But away they are, and what was a group of 10 only a couple of laps ago, bunched together 10, now quite spread. And of course we've seen the early leader, the Ortega.
Morhon is working very hard here, trying to cover Bekmez's move. Not willing to let her go, but will she be able to close that gap?
Rachel de Orbeta of Puerto Rico was that early leader I was mentioning, and she has dropped right back. It's Bekmez who leads. And de Orbeta on last observation had dropped back to around 6th, and maybe further back now as Hayward tries to hang on to that group. There's O'Connor of Ireland. There's a 6-second gap between Bekmez and Hayward in 5th place at the moment. There's the places moving down, the likes of Tekdal. The early leader, de Orbeta, is in 8th. Vargas, strong competitor from Costa Rica, in the top 10 at the moment. But Bekmez, who took silver in the World Under-18s last year in the walk and has got used to winning in 2018, at the front there. 7 laps to go now in the women's 10,000 metre race walk at these World Under-20 Championships.
It really is getting into the business end of this race. All these athletes working very hard.
One athlete we haven't mentioned much is the 19-year-old Nanako Fuji, 17th in the senior national championships for Japan as well this year, and she's ranked 2nd in the world on times, and she is one of the chasers as they are spread all around this track.
Fuji is a strong athlete, will look to come through in the later laps.
Fuji's won in New South Wales, competing in Australia this year, and a couple of victories on the circuit, Wajima and Lugano. What we haven't seen a lot of is red cards, though. There are, at the moment, 2 walkers who are on 2 red cards. Bekmez hasn't had any yet. Morhan there behind her has had 1 for a loss of contact. 3 red cards, remember, and you go into the pit lane for a 1-minute penalty. 6 to go. They went through 7,000 meters. The split was 4 minutes 13.75. She's averaging under 4.5 minutes per 1,000 meters at the moment, the leader, Bekmez. I saw the world record set in Eugene 4 years ago by Agnieszka Jatova of the Czech Republic, when she walked 42 minutes 47 seconds. Extraordinary performance. Best mark in 2018 is some 2 minutes and 50, or nearly 3 minutes longer than that. Just indication of how good that performance was at Hayward Field. So Bekmez on the left of the screen, a white cap.
Bekmez has really tried to put a strong move in on this field, but hasn't created as big a gap as perhaps she would hope for. See her with that smooth technique.
2,000 meters remaining. Still Bekmez of Turkey.
So Bekmez, Norhan, Fuji is up there.
González, second and third.
González of Mexico as well, we've not talked much about, but she's up there in the reckoning at this stage.
González has good ability, would be looking to get involved in this. The top end of the field.
She's the Central American Junior record holder over this mark. Pan American Junior champion as well. A couple of victories in 2018. She will also take on the 20K mark on occasion. And now this group right back together. Morhan has moved right up.
And that's significant in this race. Morhan looks like she is going to make a break here. And is it González? González is happy for the moment to stick in there, just getting a sponge, cooling herself down. It's hot down there for these athletes.
Oh, it will be grueling for them now. González had a fantastic, it was a great event for Mexico in Taisang. And she won the World Race Walking Team Championships 10K walk, which is a road walk in the center of the Chinese city. And that was a straight, flat surface of 2.5 kilometers per lap. And so these 3 now are setting us up for what could be a really good finale to this race. Fuji, the next of them, number 2 in the world this year, but well back now. And there's Hayward of Australia.
Of these 3, Morhan has a red card. Just having a look down at the other red cards in the field.
Well, at this stage, looking at the way they're going, you'd have to say the pit lane may not be a factor for any of these leaders. Morhan is the only one, perhaps, at the moment with any risk. She's on 1 red card. The other 2, though, haven't had any. And in fact, very few have been issued.
Yeah, this young group of race walkers has shown great discipline across their event this morning. There's 5 judges spread out across the track. They're being watched all of the time to maintain the technical elements of this event.
15 red cards have been issued across the 34 walkers in this final at the moment. So those looking after the pit lane, relatively unemployed.
They could get themselves a cup of coffee. These ladies are disciplined and know what they're up to this morning.
Morhon now strikes for the front. Fuji trying to chase them down. Japanese have hopes in both race walks this morning of medals. The men's, remember, is still to come.
Absolutely. We'll have the men's final. We'll be deciding who is the men's under-20 champion in that race walk later on this morning. But for now, it's all about the women's race walk, and these three ladies are really having a tussle at the front of this event. Morhan has taken control of the race. We saw Beckmez leading through the middle part of it. González is still in there looking very strong. She'll be confident with her form this season. It has been very good.
3 laps to go in the women's race walk. We saw them lap Lauren Harris of the United States. Fuji and Haywood among the athletes chasing 4th and 5th. But podium positions are starting to look unlikely for them, unless something dramatic happens amongst these front 3. But this is race walking, and drama can unfold when you least expect it. Morhon from Beckmez, from González. González looking to add a World Under-20 crown to a World Race Walking Team Championship title from Taisang earlier this year. They're at the 40-minute mark. They are digging deep, finding the energy, finding the will to keep themselves going as they go into the last 1,000 meters now with Morhon, the South American junior record holder, who came second to González in Taisang. Well, at the moment, she leads her.
What a race this is turning out to be. Morhan, Beckmez, González, 3 extremely talented, fast young race walkers at the head of this event. And who will break first? All 3 looking really good.
A good moment, I think, with a close race to point out another rule of race walking which can really add drama. Now, that is the power of Rolf Muller, the chief judge, who can unilaterally disqualify an athlete regardless of their red cards in the last 100 meters of a track race if he believes the rules are being broken. He will have 3 judges positioned on the home straight when they come into it to monitor, and a disqualification outright can occur. It wouldn't actually happen until they've finished, so you wouldn't see one athlete pulled out in the last 100 meters, but what you could see is a change to the result afterwards if the judges and then the chief judge has made that unilateral decision to go for the full disqualification. González now goes for the front. Morhon is overtaken as well by Beckmez. So it's the Mexican González who goes to the front past the Turk. All 3 of these were in the same race in Taisang. Beckmez came 5th in that one, the European Under-20 champion.
González making her move. What can she do here? Beckmez is responding. Moran is working really hard to stay in this. Beckmez looks very González looks comfortable too.
Yes, contrasts. González, the thinner, taller athlete. Morhon, the shorter, along with Beckmez. Beckmez's white cap stalking the Mexican vest of González, but she knows what it's like to win a World Championship event this year. And they're coming down to the bell, and the last lap in the 10,000 meters race walk women's final. And it rings loudly, and it tells them they've got 1 lap to go. And Morhon is struggling to stay with them. It's a front 2 now. It's between Beckmez and González. I don't think Morhon is going to be able to get back at them. Further back, the likes of Fuji, Haywood, Yuchia of China. There they are. Fuji 4th, Haywood 5th. González breaking now and moving away. And the question is, can Beckmez go with her?
It looks like Beckmez has no response to that break. Oh, and Morhan's coming back into it. Moran has Beckmes in her sight.
Moran making a charge for the line potentially. She's past Beckmes and into the silver medal position. We've got a couple of 100 meters to go now in this women's 10,000 meter race walk, but González is moving away. Moran is going to have to move really quickly if she can get anywhere near, but I don't think González is going to give this one up now. She's coming around towards the home straight. She hasn't even had one red card in this race. She comes into the last 100 meters in front of the main tribune. They're cheering her on. Moran in second. Beckmes has come back. Beckmes now building up to come back and stake a claim for silver, but there's no doubt who gold's going to be. She won at the World Race Walking Team Championships in Taisang, and she's going to win again here. She's the World Under-20 champion. González of Mexico. Beckmes will get second. Moran gets the bronze. 44 minutes, 13.89 seconds. It's a double year of celebration for Alegna González. And Mexico celebrate gold in Tampere, ahead of the Turk Beckmes. And Moran of Ecuador is third, and the battle is on between Fuji now and Hayward as they hit the home straight to see who can get the fourth place position, and it looks like it will be Fuji, the highest ranked competitor here this week, who is going to hang on and take fourth, while Hayward, the Australian junior champion, will come in fifth.
Fuji came into this as a perhaps favourite, but just couldn't live with the pace of González, Beckmes, and what a performance from young González. Her technique was impeccable throughout it. Great strength shown, good speed over the last lap. Absolutely excellent performance by the young Mexican.
And you watch the rest of the walkers are coming in, and they will be for the next few minutes or so. Tekdal here is the next of them, the Balkan junior champion from Turkey, crossing the line. And you can see what it takes out. And this is really pushing their bodies to the limits. And many of them, when they cross that finishing line, they have nothing more, not a step more to give. But González, the joy of victory, the smile of the Mexican. She's done it again.
And what a feeling that must be for González. Beckmes really gave her a tough race. Moran, it was tight the whole way between Moran and Beckmes in that last lap. We didn't know who was going to get the silver, who was going to get the bronze. Just great performance by these three young race walkers.
And there's the moment she crossed the line. That is your gold medalist.
You just see the exhaustion from some of these athletes afterwards. It is such a grueling event. The most grueling event on the track and field program, in my opinion. Of course, in Ireland, we're incredibly proud of our race walking tradition. Robert Heffernan having medalled in every major championship for Ireland in recent years. Look at the Finnish athlete there, just absolutely exhausted from her effort in front of her home crowd. Look what that means to her to just finish